tomorrow's solutions today.
Hello everyone to, this is rather ominous sounding music. That'll be a bit of a jarring experience from the opening, I am sure. But welcome to Stellaris, and although it isn't obvious immediately, I am playing with the new MegaCorp DLC. I have been very fortunately afforded the opportunity to check this out ahead of its release on the 6th of December by Paradox. You can find links, of course, in the video description down below. If you already know that it is a must-have for you, then you can find out where to buy it down there. Now, for those of you who are familiar with my Stellaris series, we are going to be in for a bit of a long haul, or at least I hope it is. I might be wiped out pretty quickly, but regardless, let's jump into the game. Stellaris, for those of you who aren't aware, is a strategy, an expansive strategy 4X game. Expand, exploit, explore, and exterminate in some order that I can never seem to remember. Now, as you can probably already guess from the introduction clip, we're going to be playing with Ferracorp, which is a new mega corporate entity. Let's jump in here and I can give you a quick look. We're not going to go over it in any great detail. I have shown building up the species in so many videos previously, and honestly, with all of the things that the MegaCorp DLC adds, I could spend 2 or 3 videos just going over all of the new options and how they will play off each other. So instead of that, we'll just have a very quick look and then we'll jump into the game. We are, of course, a mammal because I wanted something that was kind of furry and cute like a ferret, and this was honestly the best option out of the mammalian options that I had. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure they're loved by some of them. These are, of course, the Void Ferrets. The name list, FC, that will be Ferracorp for my ships. We're just going with mammalian for. I will be renaming ship classes, not individual ships, because we will be dealing with thousands of them across the length and the breadth of this particular series. Hopefully, again, we might get wiped out really early on. But I will be accepting name suggestions for ship classes. As usual, these will tend to go to those who are supporting my Patreon on the Ferret Treat tier first. They have a very heavily weighted option in the random choice, but you're more than welcome to suggest your name whether you support me on Patreon or not, and you will have a chance to get in there. And eventually, we'll run out of Ferret Treat tier patrons anyway, in fact, fairly quickly. And then we will be on to just random grabs of names. So by all means, drop them down below. Now, as for the traits, the Void Ferrets are fast breeders. They're quite charismatic. They are fleeting, however. Their lifespans are a bit shorter than most, and they're deviant. They're just rebellious in nature, constantly going places they shouldn't go, alas. But they are pretty charismatic. Everyone seems to like them. Now, you'll see a lot of things down here referencing jobs. If you're not used to the MegaCorp DLC, which you probably aren't, this is probably the biggest change we've had since they got rid of the different FTL methods. It is an enormous change, and more or less in the last 3 years, the game has changed twice in such a dramatic way that it is almost, it's almost taken people back to square one on learning the game. I'm not going to say it quite that drastically because it sounds like a negative. It isn't. It has changed the game, though, in an enormous way. I cannot overstate how big of a change this has had. We are going to be starting on just a regular continental world. The star name is Duke, which is the name that name of the sound that ferrets make. Random binary star, where the two suns are clustered together, determines the layout, but not location of your starting solar system. We're going to have a binary star, so we'll have a Duke Major and a Duke Minor, and our homeworld is Neath, which is Welsh for nest. City appearance, we're going with mammals. Governing ethics, now this will be something that people will want. I'm not going with any extreme version of any kind of governing ethic. We're going xenophile. We're going materialist because, you know, ferrets like to steal shiny things. And egalitarian because that's just how ferret society strikes me. Xenophile, definitely. They're incredibly curious and just want to be friends with everyone, or at least my ferrets are. We are going to have brand loyalty and free traders. Now, as a corporate entity, this is going to have lots of changes in traditions and, of course, civics that are unique to corporations. You've also got the Gestalt consciousnesses, the hive mind, the synthetic mind. You've got the regular ones as well, such as dictatorial, imperial, oligarchic, and democratic. Corporations have a high administrative cap, but they have a worse empire size penalty. Their empires bloat faster because it's held together in a more of a tricky bureaucratic way. But they are capable of administering it reasonably well. It's an odd combination, and you'll really get to grips with how this is going to affect the game once we get in. Core systems are gone, for those who are familiar with them. The way you measure the size and complexity of an empire is now completely different. An administrative cap is more or less the core systems, if you will. Once your empire is complicated enough that it's a higher amount than your administrative cap, you start taking penalties. Free traders will generate more trade value and our branch office value as well. We'll get into branch offices shortly. Branch offices are more or less unique to corporations. Brand loyalty. We will generate more unity, which is good because we've not really got much that is going to help us with that. Advisor voice. We've got a bunch of new advisors. We're going to go with the Slick Corporation.
Don't let the baseless accusations of wrongdoing fool you. Our competitors are simply projecting their own insecurities.
It's true.
Here at MegaCorp, we always put your future first.
Yep, very, very true. And speaking about futures, tomorrow's solutions, today. That is our motto, going forward. The Ferracorp Free Traders will be the name of our empire, and the adjective will simply be Ferracorp. I've gone for something that I felt was reasonably corporate looking, it also kind of makes a Death Star now. I'm looking at, maybe foreshadowing. I don't know. I think our Void Ferrets are going to be very friendly, but maybe it's like, supply cuddles on pain of death. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We're going with Mammalian ships, and our ruler is Siri, and that's why I've gone with the ash white kind of coloration there. Not quite an albino, but it's close enough. Director Siri, but in 20 years we may have another director. Shock horror, I know. Right, okay, so with all of that done, it's time to start the game. I'm going to allow all of my previous races in. The Blood Moon Coven won't be there. We'll take them out. But we are going to have the Free Blades, the Lost Moon Unification, the Mycelium of Man, and the Dappling Cartel. They can all be here. Dappling Cartel was the species that I put together when just trying out the game for the first time. Now, let us jump in. We're going to play on a medium galaxy. I'm more or less going to leave all of these basic. We're not going to have advanced start AI. I'm not as keen on the AI having big boosts around us. I do like there being lots of AI though. Marauders, no, we're going to take that up to 1 to 2. If we get 2, that'll be interesting. Habitable worlds, primitive civilizations, tech, tradition cost, more of these, more or less all at basic difficulty. We've now got Cadet, that is the lowest difficulty. Then you have Ensign, which was previously the lowest difficulty. Then Captain. I think we'll go with, well, I'll leave it on Captain. It seems that was the default. Scaling difficulty. I think this one, when it's enabled, any AI bonuses from the difficulty setting scale up over time, starting at 0 and reaching maximum at the end game start year. I'll leave that off as well. I prefer to play a game where the AI is not getting any intrinsic bonuses simply because it's AI. That does mean that in many games the AI is a bit of a walkover because it doesn't do particularly well. But I will say that Stellaris has surprised me a couple of times. We are going to leave off Iron Man simply because I'm recording this for YouTube and having the ability to reload. Given that I'm playing on something that hasn't quite been released yet and may have game-breaking bugs, yeah, being able to jump back to the start of the last recording, or rather the start of this recording set, is more or less a must. But if you're familiar with any of my previous series, understand that I pretty much play on Bronze Man. If something bad happens, I don't care. It's all drama for me. You may as well call me Randy Random, really. But insofar as playing, it is Bronze Man. We are going to roll with the punches, and if the punches kill us, well, it was good while it lasted, I suppose. Right, time to get into the game. Okay, Ferracorp Free Traders. In the eons since the first primitive Void Ferret communities took shape in the meadows and forests of Neath, our civilization has spread and prospered. In the early days, our people were governed by primitive feudal realms and inefficient nation-states. Gradually, as global trade increased, the myriad of corporations, consortiums and guilds into which our merchants organized themselves grew increasingly wealthy and influential. After a period of conflict and rivalry, the most powerful of these entities banded together into a trade league with enough power over the economy to become the de facto world government. Now, after the discovery of the Hyperlane network, the finest minds of the Ferracorp free traders have finished development of the first hyperdrives. The stars themselves are finally within our grasp. Fantastic.
Greetings, Chairwoman. I am Thea, a prototype synthetic intelligence developed by the finest minds of our civilization to serve as your advisor. I shall endeavor to perform my duties with the utmost efficiency.
I'm going to leave the full tutorial on because there are still things that I have not yet experienced in the MegaCorp DLC, and the tutorial has been vastly improved and does now incorporate all of the new systems. So I'm going to leave that on as much for me as for anyone who might be fresh to the game and learning about it through my eyes. So tell me everything, Thea.
An excellent decision. You will have my full support.
Marvelous. I
Building
approve.
a star empire can be a daunting task. To help get things started, I will be providing instructional missions that cover the basic steps necessary to establish ourselves as a successful interstellar power.
Very well. The first mission is to fully survey the neighboring star system. I have added it as an entry in the situation log. To access it, click on the situation log button in the left section of the top bar or press F2. Now, a quick forward regarding the way I'm going to be playing through this series. The first couple of episodes are likely going to be played on normal or, well, probably just normal speed. And I'm going to be looking at all of the new things on the UI that we're not familiar with from previous runs in Stellaris. As the series progresses, though, I'll start to advance time a little bit more. We won't do much waiting around because there won't be as much things to look at. But in the early game, there's a lot of stuff to do. So these episodes aren't going to progress time too massively, but towards the end of the game, or certainly by mid-game at the very least, we'll be moving forward in larger chunks and stopping off to investigate interesting things that are happening, just to let you know how I plan to move forward with the series. Right, situation log updated, so let's open that up.
The situation log displays a list of all currently available special projects and various other points of interest.
Fantastic.
New items will likely appear as we begin exploring the galaxy.
They will indeed, Veer. Alright, tutorial survey system. We need to explore the neighboring star system. To do this, select our science ship, either by clicking on the ship itself or selecting the vessel in the outliner, which is this over there. And then we're going to go and check that out. We have got other information around here. The anomalies screen lists all as yet unresearched anomalies that we have encountered, and the victory screen.
The victory screen lists certain conditions that we can strive to fulfill.
Wow.
To ensure that the legacy of our star nation will endure for as long as there is intelligent life in the galaxy.
Perfect. I like that. We're already rank 2. It won't last. Don't get used to it. It's going to go down a lot before it starts going back up again. Right, but there's a couple of things that we want to take care of first and foremost. One is that Duque, no. Can I rename Duque? Yeah, there we go. Duke Major. And... okay, we're actually orbiting both stars. Okay, that's interesting. Sometimes you'll orbit one star and the other star will orbit it at a much further. Oh, really? Oh, I can't name the stars individually? I'm fantastically sad. Fantastically, I wanted Duke Major and Duke Minor. That would have been perfect, but alas. You'll notice over here that a lot of things have moved around. So a lot of the keys are still the same for those of you who are familiar with it. But now you can access all of this on the side. You've got a market, which is new. We've also got so many things up here. So let's take a moment just to have a look over these. Energy, much as before, it's just energy credit gathered. Minerals, I say again, the same. Food, the same. Consumer goods. Now, this is a middle tier resource, which is made by people, usually from minerals. Consumer goods is an advanced resource that represents the various gadgets, luxuries, and goods necessary to give your pops a good life and to perform intellectual jobs such as research. You can gain more by having people work in civilian industry buildings, or you can buy it on the market. Alloys. They're an advanced research, which is used primarily for building our ships and space ports. And this is made in alloy foundries. Influence represents the political clout. This is much as it has been for a little while. We will be interacting in a slightly different way, so don't neglect it and just think you know how it works. It is going to come into play in a bit of a different way now. Unity, much the same as influence, honestly. Over here, research. Research changes a lot now, because as hinted at, we need consumer goods to produce research. Our scientists aren't just going to do their stuff unless we're giving them consumer goods. We've also got strategic resources, and these are also used differently. They are not quite the way they used to work before, where you just had it and then its effect was felt throughout your empire. No. You can actually spend this now. You accrue it much like you accrue minerals. You build up a stock and then you spend it on certain things like buildings. Those buildings usually only have a one-time cost, but some of them might have later down the line a recurring cost. So you're going to need a constant supply of this stuff, not just a once-off trade to get hold of it. It changes a lot of the way you interact with these resources. You can, however, later on get buildings that allow you to make it. Empire size. Now, this is probably one of the big ones. The core systems are gone. The idea of core systems and sectors gone. Sectors are now automatic, by the way, so that's probably going to catch a couple of people out. But empire size is a measure of the territorial expanse of your empire in the form of controlled systems, colonies, and districts. Also leaders, by the way. A high empire size is a strain on your empire's administrative capacity and will increase the cost of technologies, traditions, leaders, and campaigns. Basically, the more complex your empire, that isn't just how big it is, but how dense it is, because it can be complicated in a very small space. This will affect this. But as a megacorp, we've got a bit more of an administrative cap, so we've got a little bit more room to play with. Empire systems. We own one star system and one colonized world in that system. Empire colonies, we've only got one. Empire population, we've got 28 void ferrets. We've got one starbase, and we've got our naval capacity. Now, let's go ahead and have a quick look at our research.
The technology screen is where we will be directing our research efforts. Technologies are categorized into 3 different fields, with each field typically having 3 available research options.
That can get significantly longer later on, and you should try and aim for that. Right, for physics, we could go for global energy management. Give us the edict capacity overload, and unlock the building energy grid, which allows us to get a little bit more energy out of our technician jobs. Everything is now based on jobs rather than buildings. It's just buildings in most cases amplify the jobs that you've got or make more potential vacancies for that particular work type. We've got physics research, so we'll get more research from our physics researchers. Oh, we can go with shields. I'm going to go straight for getting more research, honestly. For society, we have got Off-World Trading Company. Now, that will be useful later on for trade value. Trade value is a bit of an interesting thing now. You can gather trade value from around the galaxy, but you basically have to ship it via trade routes back to your capital hub, where it is then converted into credit and I think some other resources, but primarily think of it as credit. This would interact with that a little bit. Not sure about that one yet. Monthly unity would be quite nice. Also, additional edict campaigns. Enable capacity from soldier jobs, +2. So you can actually have people who just work on a planet who give you more naval capacity, which is a big thing. But we're going to go for the monthly unity. I think that's going to be more important for me. And finally, in engineering, we can go for army damage or more minerals, better armor, or more engineering. I think we're going to go for the more engineering to start with. Let's get a nice big boost to our research capabilities. Now, for the big one. Planets are so different now. Before we jump in there, I'm just going to say one thing. Yes, they are more complicated. And so as a result, Stellaris is not quite as easy a game to pick up as it used to be. But it is so much more engaging now. As someone who's familiar with the game, I can't really comment on how easy this would be to go in blind, fresh, new player and seeing all of this level of complexity as opposed to how it was previously, which was a lot more simplified. But this is going to give you so much more to do throughout the game. The pacing of the game, I would say, is a little bit slower now, but it's more measured, it is an even pace, and it is significantly more engaging throughout. But let's jump into Neath.
This is our homeworld and the capital of our empire. The planet's summary screen, which we are currently looking at, provides an overview of the planet's important statistics.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We can see the total number of districts this planet can support, how many pops are living on it, and how much food and other resources it produces and consumes. We can also see if the planet is suffering from low stability, and if there are any assigned governors, they are found here. Thank you very much, Veer. Now, we've currently got Vin, son of Makan. I will be renaming all leaders as per usual. So let me know down below if you want a leader or if you're putting your name forward for a ship, and I will bear that in mind. If it doesn't matter to you, just let me know that your name is available. We've got a current stability of 61%. Effects from high stability are resources that are generated by jobs, plus 6%, trade value, plus 6%, immigration pull, plus 4. Pop approval rating, we get plus 6. That's quite nice, actually. Let's have a look. Stability is a measure of the overall political stability of the planet. It is primarily determined by the overall pop approval rating of the population. Stability can be reduced by conditions such as overcrowding, low amenities, and crime. A planet with high stability will have increased resource production, while a planet with low stability will suffer penalties and may experience negative events or even a full-scale revolt. Don't let crime get out of hand. We've got no crime. Of course we don't. These are void ferrets. They're not the kind to be criminals, my lord. Right, let's have a look. Empire capital, there's only a 16 size world, that's fine. That will affect the amount of districts we've got. We've got 3 blockers. It looks so different from the way it used to play out. We've got buildings over here, and we unlock more building space as our population increases. This is the resource list. It's massive. If you hover over it, there's so much information there, and you can use that to just soak it up. But in a nutshell, we're losing 1 point of energy from this current this world, but we're producing food, we're producing minerals, we're producing alloys, we're producing consumer goods, we're producing 19 of each type of research, we're producing 3 influence and 11 unity. Basically, we're producing everything that we've got. We have got 4 districts currently. The maximum districts are 13. From the planet, we get 16 districts, but we are losing 3 of them due to the effect of tile blockers currently. We've got 4 city districts, 1 generator district, 2 mining districts. 2 of those potentials are locked, and 2 current agricultural districts. We've got 13 amenities. Amenities represent planetary infrastructure and jobs dedicated towards fulfilling the day-to-day needs of your population. A planet that does not meet the amenities needs of its population will suffer penalties to happiness. You can increase amenities by employing pops in the various jobs such as entertainment. We've got housing. You've got to take care of your population so much more than before. Before it was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to have a generator there and I'll eventually get a population unit that represents X many million pop and they'll just work there, so on and so forth. And now you need to make sure they've got homes, they've got amenities, consumer goods. The life of a void ferret is never a dull one, at the very least. We've got a certain amount of housing. This is the complete available, so it's already taken into account our existing 28 pop. And as a result of the free housing, we've got a bit more of an immigration pull. So other planets would possibly send pop to this world simply because it's got room for them. It might have available jobs soon as well. Housing represents planetary infrastructure dedicated to housing the population. A planet that does not meet the housing needs of its population will suffer penalties to stability and may experience emigration. Very well. Unemployment. There are no unemployed. Unemployment pops lack a job to work in. They produce no resources and may reduce the stability of the planet. Devil makes work for idle hands. These are the types of jobs that we've got based on the buildings we've got. Got 2 executive jobs. Those are ruler jobs. We have got, by the looks of it, we've got 7 specialist jobs, 2 artisans, 1 enforcer, 2 metallurgists, and 2 researcher jobs. And then for our workers, we've got a lot more. We have got 19 jobs, 9 clerks, 4 farmers, 4 miners, and 2 technicians. We are producing a certain amount of trade goods from various things there. Free traders is helping. Being a xenophile is helping. Director Siri is particularly good in helping, and our high stability. Trade value represents civilian day-to-day economic activity. Starbases collect trade value and convert it into resources such as energy credits. If connected to your capital planet through a trade route, trade value that is directly connected to your capital starbase does not need a trade route to generate resources. So our capital starbase can gather trade without setting up any trade routes, but if we had a much more distant starbase that was gathering trade value from its surrounding systems, it would need a trade route that we would need to police, by the way, because that's where piracy happens. We've got 4 city districts. These are giving us clerk jobs, which add trade value and amenities. We've got 1 generator district, which gives us technician jobs, which effectively give us energy. Mining district gives us mining jobs. We've got 2 of these, so we've got 4 mining jobs in total. And each district gives a little bit of housing as well, though city districts give quite a lot more. And then agricultural districts, again, exactly the same for food. In terms of our buildings, we've got research lab. Researchers turn consumer goods into the various research points. We've got alloy foundries, which give us more alloys to play with. We haven't got very many of those. Civilian industries, which are artisans are turning minerals into consumer goods. We've also got commercial zones. Our clerks are producing trade value and amenities. Now, we may want to play around with that, but let's go and have a look at the population.
Here we see a breakdown of this planet's population,
Hooray!
divided into layers or strata.
They can be expanded to view the job types within each stratum. That basically rulers, specialist workers, as we've already covered. Jobs use and produce different resources, and the pop working a job needs a certain amount of housing and amenities. A lack of either will reduce happiness, which could lower the planet's stability. So if we have a look in here, we've got 2, 7, 19. That's brilliant because that's exactly what we need. We've got exactly enough population to do all the jobs that we want. Our executives are currently producing a decent amount of unity for us. They are... Let's have a look at you. You're producing some amenities, some trade value, and unity. You're using food and consumer goods. If we check out our specialists, our artisans are using minerals, food, and consumer goods, and they're producing consumer goods, but at a significantly higher rate because, you know, they're specialists. They demand certain amounts of consumer goods. Our enforcer, food and consumer goods, but they're producing unity and a malice to crime builder. That's why we've got no crime right now. Metallurgists are producing alloys out of minerals. This is the main way that minerals get used, is in your jobs, converting to other things. And we have got 2 researchers who are requiring consumer goods and upkeep, and they produce a decent amount of research as well. And they're fairly happy right now, which is actually pretty cool. And our workers, alas, all the way down here, the Void Ferret Farmer Fleet, they are consuming, again, consumer goods and food and producing amenities. Sorry, these are the clerks. The amenities, trade value, food, minerals, and energy. Now you will notice that the consumer goods needed down here for workers is less than the consumer goods needed for specialists and executives especially. So based on the strata that you live at, you can expect better things. I guess that would kind of simulate the fact that you've got a bigger wage, so you've got a higher standard of living because you can afford more things, so on and so forth. Your policies will affect that in a major way. But understand that the populations are of a certain strata. If you suddenly take away jobs from your specialists, then you'll have a glut of specialists. They won't simply take work as workers for a while. They will have to downgrade into workers before they'll take a worker class job. That takes a little bit of time. So, you know, you've got social mobility as well, but don't expect just because you need more people on the farms and you've just taken away an enforcer, that enforcer pop will now just go and happily be farmers. No, they won't. It'll take a bit. We're mostly Void Ferrets right now, in fact, entirely Void Ferrets. We've got all sorts of things, assembling pops, declining pops, growing pops. It's actually pretty cool. If I click on this, I would be able, if I had different kinds of pops here, I could tell them to prioritize the growth of certain pops over others.
This is where we manage all ground forces on this planet. This screen also tracks how much devastation or damage the planet itself has suffered.
Very well. Devastation is a different mechanic now that results from bombardment that we'll get to once we are actually at war. But we will find that we will get defensive armies based on our population and the jobs. For example, enforcers back here. The enforcer job. Law enforcement officers are responsible for upholding the law and maintaining the peace. Certain buildings will create defensive armies, strongholds, and the like, and they will gradually fill up over here. Garrison strength is abysmal, which is quite bad. Since devastation is below 25%, planetary pops cannot be killed by bombardment. Since devastation is below 25%, planetary armies take half damage from bombardment. Fantastic. I could recruit assault armies, but not defensive armies. That comes from things over here. But now having a look at the buildings that we've got. Construction buildings, I could restrict this to filter them, which is actually really, really useful because you end up with lots. We lack the minerals to build anything right now, but you've got foundries, civilian industries, commercial zones, which just give you more clerk jobs. You've got corporate culture site, which will give you some more managers, which will help you with Unity production. Hollow theaters. This will allow you to get some entertainers, which will help with Unity and amenities. Luxury residences, that will primarily increase your housing, but it'll also increase your amenities. The precinct houses, which will give you enforcers, which will produce Unity, decrease crime, and will spawn defensive armies. Research labs will help with research jobs. Resource silos and stronghold down here, which will give you soldier jobs, which will increase your naval capacity and spawn more defensive armies, which is actually pretty cool. We are eventually going to want to get the corporate culture site to help with our Unity production. But with all of that done, that's the main glut of new information. The planets are the big thing, and we're going to constantly be looking at them and learning new things. But for now, let's just get out there and start surveying systems, shall we?
Astronomical objects such as planets in a star system. A planet needs to be surveyed in order to make its resources visible.
It does indeed, and we're going to do that right now. So by heading out to the map and finding the nearest system. Ooh, we're out on the edge of the galaxy. That's actually pretty cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this one over here. I would like you over there to survey this system, then this one after it, and then this one. We will slowly move around here. I'm going to give you a lot of jobs right now just to survey up and around that little corner. And we're going to want, more or less immediately, to get ourselves a new ship. We're going to go to
this
our
is
dock.
our system's starbase.
Indeed it is.
These upgradable stations mark star system ownership and are most often tasked with producing all types of ships.
That is exactly what we're here
the
for.
vast distances that separate star systems, our scientists have developed the Hyperdrive. This device permits travel at speeds far exceeding that of light between systems connected by hyperlanes.
Travel along a hyperlane is extremely fast, but interstellar movement is restricted along the paths of the galactic hyperlane network. Safely entering hyperspace is only possible at the edge of a system, beyond the destabilizing effect of the star's gravity well. Now you can upgrade these as they were before, but you will notice they mainly take alloys. That is going to be true of almost anything to do with space, projection of force, or defense. Ships, starbases, they require alloys now, not minerals. Minerals are largely just there to be converted into alloys and other things, so bear that in mind. We've got a trade hub, which will give us a collection range of +1 for trade goods. So if we get any trade that is systems, +1 systems, we can collect trade value from any planets that produce it if they're within our territory, up to 1 system away from this station. If you wanted to build a dedicated station to this, you could end up filling all of this with trade hubs, and one station there could be gathering the trade output of several star systems, which would be pretty cool. But right now, we could add defense, but that costs quite a lot. I would rather get another science ship. Like right now, I need more science ships. We've got a lot of things that we can do in here, though. So we're going to get our construction ship to work on building mines.
To construct space stations. Where an astronomical object, such as a planet, has been surveyed, we can order this ship to build a research station or a mining station to exploit any resources it may have.
Hurrah! That is exactly what we're going to do right now. We want to go for the research station first. Now, this does take minerals, not alloys. So that's actually quite nice, so we can get that done. Looks like there are 2 stations in there, and that's why it was 200 rather than 100. So we'll go ahead and grab those. As for alloy production, mineral production, it's going to take a little while. What would I like to put in here, though? This is the question. Another alloy foundry would be good. The Duke Starbase has finished its construction queue. Oh, marvelous. Let's go and have a look at that one then. We have got a new science ship, the FC Anubis. Well, we're going to need a new leader for you.
Hire, dismiss, and assign idle governors, scientists, admirals, and generals.
Very well. We're going to grab a new scientist. Let's have a look. Research speed, leader cost, leader upkeep's quite low. You no longer have a limit on the amount of leaders you have. You just have to regularly pay them, basically. So bear that in mind. The amount of leaders you get is going to be a constant drain on your energy production. I guess we're going to go for a general scientist. Have we got anyone who's particularly good at... I'm going to swap you. Yes, we're going to assign you across here. And then we're going to jump in and assign our new researcher. There you go. Now, the reason why I did that is you're going to get an opportunity to gather a lot of experience by surveying. So I would rather you be out gathering that experience right now. One thing to bear in mind, you can assist research, which used to be locked behind a tradition. You can do that straight away. So if you've got an idle scientist, you don't have to wait for any kind of Unity expense to unlock a certain tradition. You can just get them to go to a planet and help with research. I strongly recommend this be done. But right now, exploring the galaxy is a little bit more of a priority for me, I must confess. Okay, well, with that all done, we've got a little bit of time.
I can't help but notice that our navy is a bit on the weak side.
It is.
We are certain to face many threats in the galaxy that will require some form of military response. Remember, the survival of our civilization is at stake.
Very well. Frightening words there from Veer. Okay, increase the fleet. We must build up a potent starfleet to ensure the security of the Ferracorp free traders. With the resources now at our disposal, we shouldn't have any problem building at least 5 more corvettes. Build the ships at the starbase when our ally supplies permit. New military ships always join an existing fleet that orbits the star at the starbase that builds them.
Outlier identified.
The atmospheric patterns of Quefoth 5 are highly atypical for a gas giant of modest side. It's a routine job, so it's not going to take us long. Sure, go ahead. Interrupt your surveying by scanning that for me. Got to build 5 corvettes and assign an admiral. Also, be sure to recruit and assign an admiral to our new fleet. This works in the same way as assigning scientists to a science ship. Click on the assign leader box. Very well. Let's go and have a look at our admirals. Admirals. What have we got there? Just more experience. Ship weapons range plus 20%. That's actually quite nice. Ship fire rate. And sublight speed increase. This leader is an aggressive admiral, always looking to pour as much fire on the enemy as possible within the least amount of time. Trag, son of Utra, you are hired. Let us get you to the first
Military
star
fleets
order.
are used to protect our emerging empire from threats, or to expand our glorious rule through force of arms.
I mean,
if we
you
so
know.
wish.
A system has been surveyed.
Very well. Don't show this
Well
again.
done. The first survey of a star system beyond our own has been completed. We now have access to planetary data that the astronomers on our homeworld could only dream of a mere generation ago.
Fantastic. Completed the construction of a research station. Excellent. Done many things. We've also surveyed this system. Fantastic indeed. Right, we can get rid of that. Right, I want to assign you over there, so that'll complete one part of
Now
our
that
requirements.
we have begun exploring our neighboring stars, it might be time to extend our reach. A starbase can be built around stars in surveyed systems to expand our borders, allowing us to claim new regions of space.
Very well. I think that's actually a good idea. With future technology, starbases can be upgraded to produce ships or other resources. For now, their main benefit lies in extending our borders. Where we have claimed a system with a starbase, we can build research and mining stations to exploit its resources. Now, understand that just the sort of outposts that you build to claim territory do not count towards your starbase capacity. That's only once you upgrade it into an actual space station starbase. And then you can build different buildings on it and have trade hubs and anchorages and such. But until that point, it doesn't count towards this limit. Something that confused me for a while. That is in the previous update. What we have assumed was an abnormally small gas giant is in fact not. Beneath a deceptive corner of thick dust swirling in the upper atmosphere lies a rectangular planet. A barren planet. But a planet nonetheless. A regular planet, not a rectangular. That's literally the opposite of regular. This has proven quite embarrassing to the astronomical community on Neath. Okay. We've revealed the barren planet, and Mig, daughter of Dirk, gains 200 experience. Fantastic. And you've leveled up. Double fantastic. I approve. There we go. Right, well, I think the idea of expanding out here is quite a good one because we've gained this 4 trade value straight away. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, this is going to take 100 of our alloys and 75 of our influence, but it's fine. We're going to go and build that outpost straight away so we can expand. Now, you're starting to see the pain in the bum that is
Mark
our
your
ally
outlier
production
identified.
right now. Okay, impressive structures litter a small area on the surface of Queboth 5A, practically begging for some archaeological work. It's routine again, so sure, go ahead and research that one for me. I would appreciate it if you could do so. Now, unfortunately, we're not developing these. We still need a little bit more minerals. I'm thinking I would like some more alloy foundries. that is probably going to be what we're going to build in Neath. We're going to build another specialist building for the production of alloy, because really getting 9 alloy... Oh, it'll take a million years to build any ships.
Identified.
As our science ship scans the surface of Ashik 2, it becomes quite clear that we have found something out of the ordinary. Its composition and history provides it with extra materials that we should take opportunity to gather. We will surely come across even more irregularities like this as we survey new planets, and should not underestimate the impact on our expansion. The planet modifier appears on Ashik. Very well. Efforts to map the surface of the planet have identified a strange mountain formation in the southern hemisphere. It does not appear to have any formed naturally. Very well. Now, this is a challenging one, so it's going to take a long time to research. But I'm going to let you do it. Oh.
As you can see on the galaxy
Well,
map,
a lot of things going on
the
here.
borders of our empire have expanded to include the system where we built our new starbase.
It has indeed. More to the point, you'll notice that trade icon is gone now. Because you don't with your constructor ship build like a mining orbital facility or an energy gathering orbital facility or an observation post or anything like that. Trade resources are just gathered by any starbase which has that system within its trade gathering range. And because it's our main starbase over our capital planet, it's instantly converted into credits. We don't need to ship it anywhere. We're gathering it. The fact that it's being moved from one system to the other is kind of abstracted. That isn't worried about. It's only between one space station and the other that makes a proper trade route with massive convoys of spaceships that could be preyed upon by pirates. So that's the only time you need to worry about that one. Now, we've got a few things going on. We can finish the construction there. We've got a couple of different anomalies over here, which is a bit of a pain, but it's something we'll deal with. Now, we're going to go into Neath, and the first thing we're going to do is we need some more metallurgist jobs really badly. So let's go ahead and build you. It's going to take us a little bit of time, and it's going to cost us a bit of energy, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. Now, there's a couple of other things that we can do down here. One of the things I pointed out is blockers. If you click on blockers, you can see them down here. Now, they are hiding certain features of the planet. You might be wondering, why can we have more agricultural districts than mining districts or even generator districts? Well, the way that works is the features of the planet. So we've got fertile lands that gives us +2 potential agricultural districts. Rich mountains gives us +3 potential mining districts. Up here we've got tempestuous mountain, which gives us more generator districts, so on, so forth. Every planet is made up of just lots of different features like this, which will dictate how many of its potential districts can be of a certain type. You'll notice we've got a little white tile there. I believe that means that currently, based on the amount of districts that I've got left that I can build, I wouldn't be able to build that even if I put everything into this at this point, or rather something along those lines. For some reason, I can't pop that one down there. These grayed out sections are indicating that a tile blocker is blocking my access to that. So let's have a look here. We've got sprawling slums, does nothing for us. On cleaning, we'll get one void ferret pop. That's actually not bad. Take all of our money though. On cleaning, we'll unblock prosperous Mesa. And on cleaning, we'll get fertile lands. But that one is definitely worth us cleaning up to get a free pop. That would be a big deal for us. Like a really, really big deal, actually. Sure. We're going to go and grab that. Now, there's one other thing we've got over here that I haven't covered, and that is decisions. Decisions are things that you can play to have an overall effect. They're kind of like edicts. So we could declare martial law for influence, and they would increase the stability and add more soldier jobs. It'll reduce job resource production, though, and population growth. Discourage planetary growth for certain amounts of influence. If resources and living space are at a premium, population planning might be necessary on this world. Measures will then be taken to voluntarily curtail population growth, but it's not going to be something that people particularly like, I should imagine, and emigration push will increase significantly, so it'll try to shift population off this planet. Distributing luxury goods will add extra amenities and immigration pull. Come for the site, stay for the brand new home Hollow Theatre installations and custom fit all leisure wear. So our amenities will use a lot more luxury, consumer goods, but we'll get more amenities and more immigration pull. People will want to live on this planet because it's so luxurious. Encourage planetary growth. We need a lot of food to use this one, but when we do, then pop growth speed increases drastically, which is very, very much a good thing. Abandoned amusement park. The structures on Quivoth 5A are not as old as we first believed. It seems to be a playground or amusement park of some sort. Science officer Mig, daughter of Turk, notes that many of the contraptions are highly complex creations that we can learn much from, and that to the builders, aliens' eyes, this might have been a cutting-edge sensor array, or even a gigantic art installation. Regardless, to us Void Ferrets, it looked mostly like a place where you would take your young and let them amuse themselves. Intriguing. We'll gain a bunch of research, society, and engineering. Now, that isn't immediately given to us. Instead, it is stored and will be used at the same pace that we naturally produce our research. So, for example, we'll get 19.8 from our planets, but also 19.8 from the stored research, I believe. Weeks after the FC and Nividis' latest fruitful exploratory survey, Void Ferret xenologists are practically falling over themselves to publish their takes on the findings on Quivoth 5A. This feathered storm in the scientific community has had some negative, yet temporary, impact on pursuits in other fields. Okay, remarkable. It seems that we're very happy to have found a place where other creatures live. Right, or once lived. Tradition.
The tradition screen displays the tradition trees available to our empire. A tradition tree must first be adopted before any traditions within it can be unlocked.
It's true. Okay, so tradition trees. We get very different traditions because of being a megacorp. It's true for most of the big changes. So if you're a Gestalt consciousness, like a machine intelligence or a hive mind or a megacorp, you're going to have very different tradition trees. I think most other empire types will have the same ones, though. Now, for us, got a lot of options here. Do we want to expand quickly? First, you have to adopt the tradition, and then you can work through it. You don't have to completely fill it before you start on the next one, but generally that is usually seen as a pretty good way to go. Diplomatic influence cost reduced by 50%. I mean, we do want to be pretty diplomatic. Discovery, anomaly research speed will be increased. Harmony, pop, food consumption will be reduced. Prosperity, mining station output increased. Domination, clear blocker cost reduced. And expansion, colony development speed. I mean, that one might not be so bad. Will allow all your non-habitable planets to build one additional district. In addition, we will unlock one ascension perk slot. All your non-habitable... Oh, habitat planet, not it was confusing me there. How could I build a district on a planet that I wasn't inhabited? Adopting all harmony decisions will increase stability on all of our planets by 5%. In addition, all of them will give an ascension perk. Adopting all prosperity tradition will give our planets one merchant job per 50 pops. Ooh, that might be good. We'll increase our research speed by 10%. I really do want to get researching hard. I think we're going to go with discovery. What would we get there? Survey speed increased by 35%. Science ship disengage chance increased. Research station output increased. Research alternatives increased. Science cap. Leader cap increased. Leader experience gain. That's actually quite an important one because we are short-lived. Pops working with research have their upkeep reduced by 20%, which would be quite cool. Whereas prosperity, building upkeep and district upkeep is reduced. Specialist output increased. City districts provide an additional clerk job. Buildings and districts have their build cost reduced by 10%. And city districts provide one additional housing. I think we're going to go with discovery. There we go. Let's start discovering things together. Right, as for you, my friend, we can't quite build all of those yet. What I can do, though, is we are going to go ahead and get our Duke station to build us a couple of corvettes. Now, they're not amazingly good. In fact, I dislike having auto-built ships, so we're going to jump into the ship designer. What? I think Veer is crashing. All ships in use with our Empire are designed here. Yes, they are indeed. I would like a different corvette. What is the current corvette we've got? It's 2 mass drivers and some flak battery. It would be useful against missiles. Don't know if we're going to be fighting against missiles yet, though. Our defense platform, lasers, and railguns. So increased shield damage, increased armor damage. They complement each other to a certain degree. And we kind of got a mix of armor and shield. Well, as far as our corvettes go then, I don't really care too much for the flak, honestly, this early on, because we don't know if we're going to be fighting anything that uses it. That said, perhaps we should get a missile boat and see if the first person we encounter has the same kind of feelings about it and hasn't got anything to help. Now, missiles are quite nice because they'll just go through shields and hit hull instead. So, might not be the best thing because it'll just drop the shields. Maybe I'll go with lasers instead then for my missile boat. I wouldn't mind a reactor booster. Additional power generation systems increase the ship's reactor output. Okay. Don't necessarily need that though. Let's drop these down. And armor does not cost anything, so yeah, we'll have an evasion of 60%. But if we get the reactor output, we'll get higher evasion, but only by a tiny little bit. So it doesn't really bother me too much. Right. Cannot make changes. Auto design takes over upgrading and changing of the ships. What? Why can I not? What? Why is that? Oh, auto-generate designs. No. Go away. Don't want that at all. Thank you. We'll just pop down a basic name right now because I haven't got any name suggestions yet, but we will be changing you later. I do want you to auto-upgrade in the future. Design of that name already exists. You lie. Okay. Stellaris. We'll take you. Save. There we go. And now we're going to get rid of the auto-generated Corvette. There we are. Maybe I'll add in one other Corvette as well. And for now, should I have a flag? I don't know. No, we're gonna go heavy on this. We'll have a little bit of armor damage, but mostly shield damage, I think. I'll grab you two. Am I gonna have enough power? Yes, I still do. And we don't need a reactor. We'll auto upgrade, and there we go. Perfect. So we've got a couple of new items. I'll eventually upgrade the defense platform when we need to, but for the time being, let's go ahead and get some new Corvettes. So you'll notice piracy suppression. That is actually quite an important one. Let's go ahead. We can only afford one, alas, because it takes so long. We need to increase that desperately. There is a lot more involved now in being able to do things like expanding your military because you've got this two-stage process to get the materials you need. A massive crater on Ashik 1 appears to be the result of a collision with a starship. From the size of the crater, we suspect that a ship exiting a hyperlane at maximum velocity rammed the planet for reasons unknown roughly 10,000 years ago. The FC Carmentis has picked up residual subspace echoes near the crash site, reminiscent of a collapsed hyperparticulate field. But as the ship itself disintegrated, on impact, the theory cannot be verified. Oh well, you get a bunch of physics research.
Upscaling
I think that's
complete.
Fine. Hooray! We have completed.
One of our science ships has just surveyed a world that would make an excellent candidate for our first colony.
Marvelous.
It is of the same planet class as our home world.
Double
so
marvelous.
Our colonists should be quite comfortable there.
Before we can colonize this world, however, our borders must be extended to cover the system it is in. This is accomplished by using a construction ship. Okay. Verdant plains are quiet, save for a weak but steady beacon signal. It's going to be hard. We're going to take a long time to research that, but go ahead. You can start searching that right now. Is that the planet that we just had a look at? Yes. Now, we're not going to be able to settle here until this is researched, so we're just going to have to get on with that. But now that we know it's there, we're probably going to want to head out in that direction. For the time being, though, go ahead and build some mining stations there for me. Let's bring in some more minerals, some more energy. I think that's where we're going to have to wrap things up as we are running out of time. As I mentioned, these first couple of episodes will be a little bit slower than the norm, just because we're going to be covering a lot of new and intricate systems. And more than that, systems which you're going to kind of have to unlearn what you knew about the old mechanics of the game. And so there's going to be a little bit more time involved in just emphasizing the differences that the MegaCorp DLC is going to bring to the game. But I'm really, really hopeful that you are enjoying the series so far and will be joining me for the next. But until then, and as always, do take care. And remember, smart consumers shop Ferracorp. Tomorrow's solutions today.